Call to order the Transportation Authority of Calhoun County, June 10th, 2026 board meeting. And we can have roll call, please. Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir.
Secretary.
Eric Stewart, Tom Tarkowitz.
Here.
Vivian Davis, not here. Maya Williams. Here. Amy Evans. Here. Denisha Harris. Here. Dr. Paul Watson.
Here. Have a quorum.
Yes.
Before you have a motion to approve the agenda, that's Mallory to add a couple things to the agenda, please.
Yes, item F under new business, consideration of approval of the ATU collective bargaining agreement. And for the date of the next board meeting, to modify the next board meeting date to be June 23rd at 9:30 a.m.
I move to accept the agenda with those two modifications.
Support.
Motion support. All in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, now public comments on agenda items. The smiling faces up. Okay, we have on the consent agenda the May 13, 2026 meeting minutes, the finance and budget report, the AP approval through June 8th. Is there anything that needs to come off of that? I will take a motion to approve the consent agenda. So to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approve the consent agenda. We have no unfinished business. And moving on to new business, we have resolution 16, 2026 approval of King Media scope of work.
Yes, included in your board packet was the scope of work provided by King Media. As you know, they are our current marketing and communications services, and we've been satisfied with their work. They've helped us through some public relations, press releases, obviously branding, and a lot of website design. We asked them for an additional year scope of work, and we have a grant to help cover the cost of that. So of the proposed cost of $272,000, $250,000 of that is eligible for reimbursement through a congressionally directed spending grant. Really one of the big changes on this year's scope of work with King Media would be we asked them to develop some branded recruitment materials. So really as we shift to Ride Calhoun and the Transportation Authority, creating welcome videos for new hires, creating an onboarding experience for individuals, and then also a recruitment experience as we move away from the cities of Marshall and Battle Creek and are now responsible for our own recruitment. Also in there is obviously ongoing website design and development as we transition to ensure that everything is ADA compliant under the federal regulations. And then obviously regular public relations and continuing our awareness campaign moving into 2026, 2027. So last year we did a lot of the billboards, social media, radio streaming TV, continuing that, but with a refreshed messaging.
Any questions for Mallory? There are none. I'll take a motion to approve resolution 16, 2026.
Move to approve resolution 16-2026.
Support. Any further comment? Do we need a roll call or?
No.
Okay. All in favor of resolution 16, 2026, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on to resolution 17, 2026, adoption of the updated FOIA policy.
I move resolution 17, 2026.
There is support,
Support.
discussion.
Just-
Or-
Just questions on the revisions, something, just to make sure I was clear on what those are.
Yes, mostly cleaning up address changes, as now we're transitioning ownership of the properties. So previously, the address listed was the rented mailbox that we had on Dickman Road. So it's clarifying, or cleaning up that language to be the 339. Identifying me now as the FOIA coordinator, and then updating the contact information, including the fax and email address, to get rid of the ridecalhoun@gmail.com and reflect the info at ridecalhoun.
Further questions? Okay. All in favor of approval of resolution 17, 2026, adoption of the updated FOIA policy, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is approved. Moving on to resolution 18, 2026, support of an application for infrastructure projects authority fund grant.
Yes, we like acronyms in the transit world, so this is IPATH. The IPATH funds are available this year, and I believe it's 4 more years that these funds are available. It's about $65 million that are available to transit agencies in the state as part of the state budget for 2026. This is intended to be transformative projects. So the state has held a couple of webinars or informational sessions, and really they're looking for transformative projects that are shovel ready. As you know, we have submitted several years for a new facility under the BUILD program, which is a federal program. We've been unsuccessful, still to be determined for this fiscal year award, but this is another opportunity for us to apply for that funding. However, this would be 100% state funding. It's up to us to demonstrate how a new facility would be able to be transformative, but I think we did a good job of that already in the BUILD application. So, hopefully Shannon doesn't have a lot of additional work to do to revise kind of what we had there and move it into the IPATH program. We shared last time that we have an A&E procurement out currently, so that next generation transit facility study. Really, that's a study. We're looking for that A&E firm to identify like a site for us to build on, conceptual design of what a facility would look like, and then identify a satellite location for a facility to serve the Marshall and Albion area as well for efficiency. Between that, so that project will be wrapped up by December 31st, which would, I believe, make us shovel ready by the time this grant would be awarded, giving us hopefully a little bit of a leg up. Some internal conversations amongst transit agencies. A lot of agencies feel like they're not prepared for the tight deadline of this. I believe the deadline is June 30th. Is Shannon? Yes. June 30th. The deadline for this application is June 30th. And so a lot of agencies felt like that just wasn't enough time to put together a meaningful application that would demonstrate a transformative project. And so we're hoping year one is maybe our best year to ask for almost half of that 65 million. So our ask is about 31 million. And if we were successful, it would build a brand new facility that would be a multimodal transportation center. We've also identified, because you're allowed to apply for more than one project, we've identified 2 other projects that we believe would be transformative if the state wasn't looking to award half of the pot of money to one agency. And that's for us to build a transfer center or a small transit facility out in the VA Fort Custer area. Working with BCU to identify a parcel there that we could build on, create a transit center that could also be an incubator space for transit-oriented development. So whether that's a childcare center or a convenience store, something for business and transit use combined. We would use that then to run shuttle service throughout the fort rather than big fixed route buses throughout the fort. So we would make a quick connection to that transit center and then smaller vehicles to go out to the individual businesses. Again, believing that that's transformative and it would support 100% of capital and operating expenses that grant would for a period of 3 years. And then lastly, for us to be able to demonstrate additional, similar to BC Go, kind of our last ask is let's continue the BC Go pilot, give us some more vehicles and help us fund the rural communities until we bridge that gap to the millage renewal in 2028, where they have the opportunity to opt in. So we identified 3 projects listed in that resolution, and Shannon has the fun task of applying for all 3.
I'll take a
Good luck.
motion.
Yes.
I'll take a motion and we can do discussion.
So moved. Support.
Okay, discussion.
Discussion, in terms of the multi-module transportation facility. So did I understand you to say that for the outlining areas, there would be like a satellite office or something like that?
Yeah, really what we're looking at is a small facility for us to be able to have employees, supervisors, and vehicles stationed at, so that not all of our service departs from, one corner of the county, for us to be able to distribute our vehicles and be a little bit more efficient, especially as we're looking to grow into the more rural areas. I think a unique opportunity could potentially be something in Albion where we could, again, multimodal, connect to the train station or Indian Trail, something like that, and make it a little bit more competitive.
So you're going to work with basically EDC or?
This is all through MDOT.
It's through MDOT.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So we don't have anything to do with it, huh?
No, no, I suppose Albion will if we're awarded. Yep.
Okay.
And you may be getting an ask for a letter of support from Albion government as well as economic development.
Okay.
Not sure if anybody saw it on the news. I believe it was yesterday or the day before, where in Grand Rapids, they have put a child care center at their hub. I'm not sure
Yep.
exactly what that's called. I know where it's at and everything, but they put a daycare center right at that transfer station.
Yeah, and that was again another example of a capital investment grant or a TOD grant, transit oriented development grant, that allowed kind of that joint development and joint use, public-private partnership. That makes sense in a transit world where you're already going there. Let me drop my child off at childcare on my own.
Any other discussion? We have a motion to approve resolution 18/2026. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next, we have resolution 19/2026, which is a professional services agreement with Fishbeck for a total cost of $5,200. Can I have a motion and discussion?
I didn't know who made the motion for 18/26 and who supported it.
I need the motion.
Vivian and Maya.
Okay. I had that for 17, but that happened for 18 as well.
Yes.
So, thank you. Move to approve resolution 19/2026.
Support.
Okay. We have a motion. Howard.
Yes. So resolution 19/2026 would authorize me to enter into a professional services agreement with Fishbeck to do a baseline environmental analysis. So we are transferring ownership of properties from the city of Battle Creek to the Transportation Authority, and ensuring that we have that baseline environmental to protect us from future liability is a requirement. This would have 2 separate analysis, it would be the 339 West Michigan property, the Operations and Maintenance Center, and then the 120 McCamley Street, which is the Bus Transfer Center. That is required to be done within a specific time frame, or is it 60 days, I think, 60 days after 45 days. It's required to be completed 45 days after closing. So getting this professional services agreement approved in anticipation of that comprehensive transition agreement coming forward at the next board meeting, that would actually transfer the property.
Any question?
What happens if they say that phase 2 is needed?
We would have to do that.
And is there a time associated with that, or is that all open?
Usually it's much longer than the phase 1. So hopefully the phase 1 doesn't find anything wrong with the properties for the most part. We don't anticipate anything in there. Just depends on how thorough they can dig deep into the paperwork and documentation that's out there. But if they do find stuff, phase 2 will have to go next. I don't know what the time frame of that is, but it takes a lot longer. Soil sampling, some environmental analysis, so it takes a while.
Oh, okay. Since we have motion and support, resolution 19/20/46, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Here now, going to request a closed session. Somebody like to make that motion?
So moved.
Well, we gotta, I would prefer the motion would be the official language.
So you want her to read?
Yeah, if she would.
I would like to make a motion for a closed session pursuant to section 8C to discuss strategy related to collective bargaining. It is exempt from discussion disclosure under section 13(1)(g) of the Freedom of Information Act.
Support, okay,
Support.
okay. And now we need a roll call vote.
Yes, Tom Tarkowitz.
Yes.
Vivian Davis, Maya Williams.
Yes.
Amy Evans.
Yes.
Dinesh Morris.
Yes.
Dr. Paul Watson.
Yes. We are gonna go in closed session. Are we staying in
We
here?
got F, right? Or no?
Or we're
Are we
We
gonna
can
do
do that
F
after
after
the
the
closed
closed
session.
later, we do E. Do the closed
Usually,
session.
when at our meetings, we do all of the agenda items and then go to closed session and then come back out. So that's why I was thinking.
I will pause the recording.
Okay.
We're gonna leave and go into the other room. We have the table set up in there, and then we can come back in here after the session.
There's some cool in there.
It is, yeah.
But it was Paul Watson.
We will be back here.
So moved.
Or.
All in favor of coming out with closed session, say aye.
Aye.
All right, back in open session. We're on 7F. And that's consideration of the ATU contract.
I move to approve the ATU collective bargaining agreement.
Support. Any discussion? Not see anything. Can I have a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Eric Stewart,
Yes.
Tom Tarkowitz.
Yeah.
Vivian Davis, yes. Maya Williams.
Yes.
Amy Evans.
Yes.
Dinesh Morris.
Yes.
And Dr. Paul Watson.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Congratulations, all that worked on that. Public comments on non-agenda items. Everybody bring them, okay. Board and executive director comments, communications to the board,
There were none.
okay. Someone from. Ignore. Consultant updates is,
Peter is,
Peter, you're on if you have any comments.
Sure, there's a couple of comments, a few here. One of them is I'm really pleased that this agreement with ATU has been finalized and approved by the board. I think this is really a good turn of events to make for a smooth transition, so I am personally pleased with it. I do think that I am still concerned about the transition of all the grants from the city to you, whether it's federal or state, especially the federal ones that still need to be worked on. I'm confident that Clark and I will be able to have discussions with Mallory as we go through it, so that if there's any assistance we may need to help with, we'd be ready to do that, because I think that those transitions have to occur smoothly, and there were a lot of grants up in the air about that. If the workshop is on July 8th, I can commit to it. I'll have to come in from my cottage vacation to do that, but I'd be happy to do that so we can get the workshop back in place, if that's the plan still. I understand that there's going to be a board meeting on June 24th, if I'm correct. So we'll be ready for that. I'm really generally pleased with the transition as it's occurring and how the board is reacting to it. I think this ATU piece was very significant to me, but also significant will be to make sure that all the grants are moved over properly, or de-obligated and obligated properly. I have full confidence in Mallory to assist with the state and the feds on that. I also know that Clark and I are both willing and ready and able to actually help with that at a level that may be necessary. Because sometimes Mallory is dealing with somebody lower down in the organization, and this is usually what happens to somebody like me, is we end up having a meeting upstairs to find out what really needs to happen here. This has been my long learned lesson in my business, is that sometimes I had to go upstairs in Washington and the state to get something resolved because somebody lower is interpreting rules and regulations in a different way than it is expected. And then you'll find out why, and then you get these surprise changes. So I'm ready to do that. I'm actually quite willing to go to Washington and Chicago to handle any of these kinds of issues regarding federal contracts. Other than that, I have full faith and confidence in Mallory, and I feel really good about how everything is moving. Sometimes it feels like it's moving very fast for me, and sometimes I think that's good because it's necessary. I do wish an expression that as your consultants on transition, being able to be in closed sessions is maybe valuable, but that's from the consultant's viewpoint, not necessarily from your viewpoint. Those are my comments. I think that Clark would agree with them, and he's not able to join today.
Okay, Peter, just so you know, our June 24th meeting is being moved to June 23rd at 9:30.
Okay.
It still probably interferes with your, your country time.
June 23rd would be a meeting that I can make, so that's also good.
Yeah, 9:30
Yes,
in the morning.
in the morning.
All right, moving on, executive director comments.
So update on the transition is, we are making progress towards the July 1 separation from the city of Battle Creek and the city of Marshall. At your next board meeting, you should have both comprehensive transition agreements, or CTAs, in front of you for approval. The city of Marshall is obviously far less complicated than the city of Battle Creek's. However, I think today we finally came to agreement on all of the language for the transfer of the assets, employees, pensions, related things. It's a pretty significant document, so as soon as we get that draft in its final form, I'll send that out to the board to review. It should also be on the city of Battle Creek's commission agenda for next week. Once each entity has approved their respective agreement, we will be able to schedule closings with the title companies. We'll be able to transfer titles for ownership of the vehicles. However, all of that has to also be coordinated with the transition of insurance. So our insurance effective dates are July 1. We're still working through those policies and coverages, but right now we're still on schedule to have insurance in place July 1. We don't want to transfer the vehicles before our insurance is in place, so we're just working through what that means. And then payroll, HR, all of those things, employee benefits, open enrollment closes today. For all employees to make their health insurance elections or opt out of health insurance. And that gets submitted to the carriers tomorrow by the end of the business day. So we have a lot of functional things happening, which is, you know, I think back in April, our April board meeting, we talked about how this quarter we're really focused on the transition and a smooth, successful transition for the community and our staff. We weren't trying to do anything exciting or new, innovative this quarter, really just focused on standing up the organization independently July 1. As you know, part of that is the change of the service area and the fare structure July 1. Our mobility manager, Mary, has begun contacting impacted passengers that previously had access to service under BC Go that will no longer have access because their origin or destination or both are outside of the TACC service area. So altogether, Christy identified about 670 passengers, individuals that are impacted, either as one leg of their trip or both legs of their trip being outside of our service area. We're starting with those most impacted, so those who use the service most frequently, and making those one-on-one phone calls. We talked at our previous meeting about some of that communication strategy with them. We don't want them to find out via a press release. We don't want them to find out via social media. We are calling the individuals, talking through, listening to their heartache on the phone, recognizing that, you know, a couple individuals have used the service more than 100 times over the last 12 months. One individual more than 200 times over the last 12 months. That tells us that this person's probably using that service for work, for employment. They're every day, they're traveling outside of our service area. We are not restricting the service boundaries to harm anybody, but we have to serve the communities that are supporting the TACC through the millage. What this does do is open up the opportunity to have those discussions with the townships and villages again, because their residents are calling them now. Their residents are reaching out to them like, what's happening there, you know, the service that I've been using for the last 5 years is going away. Helping our passengers understand why the service is going away, but also working with the elected officials in those communities to understand how many of their residents are impacted, what were their trips for, if we can get that information, and then telling the story for the passengers who likely, without transportation, can't get to the meetings to tell it themselves. So, you know, we've already started conversations with passengers and elected officials. We anticipate a press release going out this week to formally announce it once we've at least crossed, I think, that top 50 users, the one-on-one conversation. And then we also have social media ready to go, and a letter to our passengers that are impacted. Christy is working with the app developer to put a push notification within the app, just trying to give people as much notice as they can, but recognizing that passengers are feeling it, and now the townships and villages are starting to feel it, as well as those passengers go to their elected officials to express their concerns. That is my update.
It's a big job to do. So.
It is, and you know, if you see Mary, you know, give her a coffee or chocolate or something. As in, you know, empath, like, you feel emotions of other people, and it's not an easy job to make all of those phone calls and listen to people cry or listen to the heartache and the stories of, you know, this isn't just transportation. This is somebody's means of employment. This is access. And she has to listen to those calls all day for the last 2 weeks. So Yeah, we understand and we feel the pain of the passengers. We're doing our best to connect them with whatever other services are available that they could be eligible for.
Board member comments. Any comments from the board? Quite good today.
Thank you, all of you for everything that you're doing. I know I say this every time, but it's just, it's so impressive and inspiring, all the work that you guys are doing and. Thank you.
Thank you.
Job well done.
Thank you.
And moving on, do we need a formal motion or just,
I can just publicly notice that.
okay,
Okay.
that the board meeting is no longer on June 24th, it's on June 23rd at 9:30. And there will be a workshop July 8th between 2 and 5:30 for our regular meeting. It's 9:38. No, it's not. It is, yeah. So, based on that, I'll call the meeting adjourned. Thank you all.